Hi, my name is Meredith Salmon, and this is my reflection on the course Computer-Based Instructional Technologies. What I enjoyed the most was learning and implementing new computer software and programs and new tools that I had never heard before, and thinking through how can I use these in my classroom. What is a practical way I can use these? Example, like the bookmarks. I bookmarked a lot of social study websites, and I'll be able to pull that right up and pull it into my classroom and during lesson planning and making research projects. What I need more help with is locating the actual online content. I worked really hard on finding those social study websites, but I would love more help. I feel like there's so much out there online, and I have been home for 3 years. I'm not currently teaching, so I would love to see more people's resources, and I would love to see other people's bookmark websites or their top 10 links in their electronic portfolios. What puzzles me is how teachers taught during COVID-19 pandemic with the digital equity issues. My research project, I studied this, and I interviewed a teacher from who was an ESL teacher, and it was very puzzling of thinking through how the ESL teacher was able to teach her kids during the pandemic when her students did not have the technology needed. And I think teachers are amazing for how they really accomplished and thrived during the pandemic. What surprised me was how many new tools I have in my tool belt. As I said, I have been home for 3 years with my kiddos, and it has really surprised me of how much has changed, and how it's not surprising how much has changed, but it was surprised me how much I didn't know and how many new things I learned, and I'm excited to use them in my future classroom one day. What I learned that is new was that districts have acceptable use policies. I have never heard this before, never heard it during a professional development or any meeting before, and now I know that I need to refer back to these policies before I introduce a new technology to my students. What I found that is difficult is knowing the healthy balance in technology and in student learning. I, in the first module, really wrote on this in my reflection of just how I see the importance of technology in student learning and the benefits that it adds to student learning, and I want to be a teacher that uses that and utilizes that to have gains for my students. I also want to have wisdom of when to not overly saturate my students with technology, but also to have hands-on learning and manipulatives and interaction with each other. And that's been a difficult question to me of in a lot of the research and reading articles of, well, they're using it anyway, so why don't we capitalize on it? Questions like that are a harder thing for me to think on. What helped me when something got tricky, when trying to really learn, self-teach many tools on my own, was to learn not to rush when learning tools and to take my time figuring things out. I would quickly try to rush through something and would just have to start over completely because I was just doing it completely incorrectly. So, I have learned as the course went on, I slowly would try and learn the tool before I would start working on my project. What really made me think was my interview for my research paper. I interviewed a ESL teacher, and as I said before, my project was on digital equity. And it really made me think about just what that looks like as a teacher. What is my responsibility to my students? And it made me think on past assignments, like, did I think through, do all of my students have the capability to complete this assignment, or was I making assumptions that they all did? And hearing that teacher's experience of her ESL students and the parents really not able to help the students at home and not having internet and just doing paper packets that never got turned in, and it made me think of how would I handle her situation. And it's tough. Teachers went through a lot of tough questions like that of how to grow students with digital equity issues. My best work, I believe, was my research project that I was just talking about on digital equity. It was my best because I really enjoyed talking to the teacher. She's from a different part of the country. She works with a different population than I have ever worked with. And she just had great experience and great insight to the issue I was researching. I learned and researched new initiatives and ways that teachers can fundraise and advocate for their students. And I really hope to take that into my future teaching, to really advocate for all of my students to have the technology abilities to complete all assignments. I suggest for future students taking this course to really try out as many technology tools that are in each module. Take their time and learn them, and so that they will have just more tools in their tool belt. I also would highly suggest when making content and creating content for our assignments to really think of your actual classroom. So go ahead and make something for your classroom while you're also doing it for this course. So an example would be my presentation project was a Meet the Teacher Prezi presentation. And I can absolutely use it. I made it very student-friendly for my third graders, something that I will go through with them on the first day of school just to introduce myself to them. And I don't have to remake that. I can pull that up from making it in this class. So I would highly suggest that we work smarter, not harder as teachers, and to use these tools in this time in this class to start making content for our future classrooms. That is all on my reflection on this course, and thank you so much for listening.